Hey there folks, Kozzi here, drafting for Pick 1, Pack 1, and I know I said that I wouldn't be doing any more drafts until the expansion got released, or the quests, or however they want to brand it, but I had a silver chest upgrade to a platinum one, and I thought that's half of where I want to go, and I was getting a bit bored of just churning my way through ranked. So let's do it! Let's draft into another draft, see what we get to do. Life's too short to be messing around, churning through ranked. Wow, stacked top end here and results in some interesting choices. So we have an exceptionally strong rare, two exceptionally strong uncommons. False Prince, Ice Sprite are both very good, and Champion of Chaos is absurd if you find yourself in the Stone Scar colors. The fact that oftentimes you'll be hitting it up to being a 3-cost 4/4 with upside is pretty amazing. Ice Sprite is a lot more of a reliable piece of value. She's basically removal on a stick. Removal on a unit, I should be saying, but you get the idea. And then False Prince is just ludicrous if your opponent doesn't have many forms of interaction, which, let's face it, this is limited. Interaction is at an absolute premium. And so I think it comes down to whether I want the Ice Sprite with the removal and to go for some kind of tempo sky-based build, or whether I want to go for my value 3 drops. And if I choose to go for my value 3 drops, then it's really a case of color preference. And I know that if given my preference in a vacuum, I'd be looking at going Stone Scar. But given that this is also a video series to show different decks, that's probably also a reason to start to consider Elysian. But I just think that the Ice Sprite, well, both the Ice Sprite and the Champion, like Champion Chaos can just win games on its own. You get a bit of equipment on it whilst it's got Deadly and Overwhelm, and it's just ludicrous. It's ludicrous on its own with Deadly and Overwhelm, so long as you can get your colors up. But I think Ice Sprite is close enough to it. It plays into an archetype that I like, which is Tempo Fliers, and it doesn't commit me to 2 colors off the bat that I think I'll be happy to look at Ice Sprite and see how we go. Karmic Guardian is a phenomenal card. She wins games entirely on her own, as is Marison's Disciple. Skycrag, Wyvark, Skyvark, Wycrag, all of the above is reasonable but not exciting. Rapid Shot is exciting, and Bright Mace Pally are the other things I'm looking at. I think speculatively I want to take the Karmic Guardian here. That's just a A-grade bomb. And if someone on my right is leaving both Marison's Disciple as well as Karmic Guardian, it suggests that I could get fed some pretty amazing time. And even if I'm time splash for the Guardian, then I'll be happy. Stormlinks is looking to firm up that time splash. And yeah, we could be looking at Elysian splash. Otherwise, Dark Return's probably the strongest card in the pack. A little bit nervous about committing so early, but geez, Stormlinks can be an absolute beating sometimes. And Ancient Law is a phenomenal card draw that pumps up, so I think I'll be happy to take that. Worth noting that I did pass through yet another Dark Return, and we could have had a pair of those. If we're staying in these colors, then there's nothing much for us here. Nothing much at all. Arachnodon's never getting played in my deck. But I could think about taking it just to cut a color. Ornate Katana or Tempered don't really scream that fire is open to me. We'll just let that go through and go, that's unfortunate. Warband Chieftain, great cards here in Stone Scar. If we would have stayed with the Champion, I would have been happy to see these. And it's worth noting that I'm getting cut out, but Eastwind Herald is still a solid 2-drop, so I'll take that and see how we go. Seek Power is what I want to be able to splash the Karmic Guardian. I think I like it enough more than a Clockroach. Clockroach is a 3-cost 2/2 and then a 3-cost 3/3, which is some decent card advantage. But I'd like to be able to splash this Guardian. So we'll go for that. And then get our aggro on with the Sky Snapper over the 1/5 flyer. I'd really just much rather get on the front foot. None of these are exciting. We'll take the Refresh. Again, nothing massively exciting. And wow, that's quite a late Tundra Explorer. I don't think that card is that bad. It's not that great, but it really isn't that bad. So what do we look like here? We look like we are currently very solid in Elysian with a tiny splash at the moment for the Karmic Guardian. So I want to keep an eye out for any fixing that could help me up in that regard. And at the moment, we're definitely dominant in Primal. So what do we got here? We got another Stormlynx, which is great, Tundra Explorer, which is reasonable, and a Xenon Guardian, which is great as well. It's a case of which kind of great I'd rather, and I think if given the choice between the two, I'd rather the cheaper one. This just can blow people out. It gets value straight away if you leave your 2 power up and you can get it down. Predator's Instinct is also interesting, but it doesn't look like we're going down the road of having super high power creatures. Charchain Flail is a very good fire card, but I can understand why they didn't pick it. It makes me a little bit nervous that I've seen both a good fire card and a good primal card go through. They took a common out of this pack, so I know that they're not in time. Perhaps they're looking at being in Feln, which makes me a little bit nervous because it means I could be getting cut off on my primal cards. But for the meantime, we'll just take our splash and be happy. Not our splash, sorry, our card draw and be happy. I said that out loud because I'm looking at this going, perhaps I should splash the Feeding Time. Fantastic piece of removal, shouldn't be too expensive. Soaring Stranger is also a very good card though. But removal is removal, and we'll take the Feeding Time and hope to get ourselves into a nice color. Scorpion Wasp versus Wisdom of the Elders. Scorpion Wasp is basically a removal spell. Wisdom Elders is some card draw. I think I'm shorter on removal at the moment than I'm a card draw. And Twinning Ritual, I think, could do some work for us, especially if we get a couple of Echo cards down. Wow, some really solid cards here. What's going on? Did they take a common... Going back to the first pack that had the open Vanquish, I haven't seen any green come through at all. Perhaps they took that over this. Either way, our choice here is pretty much the Adventurer, the Slinger, or the Levitate. I'm amazed to see a Lethrari Ranger go that late. If it wasn't for the fact that I had the pair of Ancient Laws and also the Karmic Guardian that I'm trying to move into, I'd probably consider. But I think we'll just be happy to get an efficient 2-drop. And we got our card draw come through a little bit later for us, which is quite generous. Dark Return as well. Looks like we're looking at splashes all around the place, but it's better than our alternatives. And a late Predator's Instinct is a good gift. I'm not going to be playing either of those. Caleb the Uncrowned Prince. 8 cost 6/6 charge. Put a random weapon fit on each of your fire units. We're going to be making someone exceptionally happy for that. That's quite a cool card. I think my choices are between 2 of the 3 uncommons or the Amber Acolyte. Basically, the Nesting Abyssor, 4 cost for a 3/3 flyer is very good rate to begin with, and the fact that you can return something back and make it cheaper is great. It is, in a sense, tempo disadvantage, but especially if you get an Echo card or 2. If I had the Clockroaches, I'd be very tempted. It can be good. Borderlands Waykeeper, 2 cost for a 1/3. Slightly, maladjusted stats of a bear, but it's got Aegis and it's also got a power sink, which makes it very good in my books. Otherwise, Amber Acolyte to be able to fix up our fixing. And if I can get the extra fixing, it's basically allowing me to put the Karmic Guardian and Feeding Time online, and I think I want both of those more than I want these 2 uncommons. But that being said, I could reasonably expect to see another Amber Acolyte come through at some stage. I haven't had a chance to play with the Borderlands Waykeeper in Limited. I have the suspicion that it's great. I wouldn't mind the opportunity to have a play. Although by the same token, I am pretty well represented on 2s, and perhaps I just want to be making sure I hit my drops. Now let's go greedy. I want to have a bit of fun. I did this because I was being ill-disciplined. I didn't want to save up money. And so, yeah, let's play it out and have fun. Gerald's Frostkin. I was recently watching the guy who's currently the #1 drafter in Eternal, a fellow by the name of Zooch. And I recognized his name because he was a guy who I used to follow Magic the Gathering. The decks that he built were ones that I used to really enjoy playing. And he's a tempo-oriented player. And he said that he believes that Gerald's Frostkin is one of the best cards in the format. And I'm likely to agree with him. And I just want to take a moment to explain why. It's a 4 cost 3/3, so slightly underpowered. But the fact that it can stun an enemy unit and take him out of action for 2 whole turns is something that's really worth paying attention to. It basically turns off one of their blockers. It means that whatever they cast on turn 3 or 4 is invalidated for 2 whole turns. It's just a huge amount of tempo. It is worth noting that there's an Auric Room Hammer here as well. But no, I think we'll just stay on plan. I want to be playing tempo. Oh, just imagine if we had a pair of those. That would have been disgusting. Oh boy. I could still be tempted, but I didn't take the Avesaur, did I? I took the stupid Borderlands Waykeeper. Or I could just take the Fixing. And Fixing is actually useful when you're trying to splash. The reason why is the more you can shore up your on colors, the easier it is then to splash for your off colors. So what I mean by that is if I can guarantee that I can easily get both my time and my primal, then I can be more confident in splashing outside of my main colors. Sorry, too many things to think about. I'm also aware that there's a Vanquish here, and if I'm looking at the Karmic Guardian, perhaps I'm interested in that. Although it is also worth noting that I haven't got any equipment to beef up my Karmic Guardian. About the best I have is the Twinning Ritual or the Ancient Laws. I'm not going to be playing the Arachnodon, so get out of here. Clockroach could be a combo with Twinning Ritual if I get anything else that helps with it. Also combo with... No, not Herald Song, it's the other one that puts a card back on top. But Vanquish seems like a card that I'd really love to splash. Although I'm already currently looking at being greedy for a feeding time. This is a really tough one. Because I could be looking at splashing aggressively into Shadow just to stay on the aggressive front foot. Yeah, wow, I really don't know here. Let's take it and see where it leads. I don't think there's any harm in speculating. And if that's the case, I really do want this extra piece of Fixing, because I'm going to be pushing for it. Thanks for the choice, guys. We could go for another Vanquish, we could go for another Feeding Time. If we take another Feeding Time, then I probably wouldn't need the other Vanquish. And I could keep the Dark Return, or I could go for a Stranger. I could even go for a Static Bolt, but it's a little bit late, and I doubt we'll be picking up more than one after this. So, I could either have a pair of Feeding Times and a Dark Return, or a pair of Vanquishes and a Karmic Guardian. And I'm a man who wants it all. I can't really get out of time now. What's better? Karmic Guardian is probably one of my best units in this deck. It's what I'm actually relying on. So let's go solid in this direction. Take another Frostkin. What's going on here? Great cards going through. I'm not likely to be playing many of these. I'm committing over. Perhaps the Crownwatch Longsword could tempt me. Happy to see an Echo unit. Yeah, things have gone a little bit AWOL. Okay, a little bit of temptation. I'm pretty sure I don't even have a playset of the Midnight Gales. I think that's just way too greedy though. What I want to do is I want to be getting to the skies. I want to be out tempoing my opponent. So what? I'd be passing up the Vanquishes that I picked to drop it in. The chance... I'm never going to be playing that on 3. I just don't have the Fixing for it. So what am I thinking through? It's the Vanquish and the Karmic Guardian. Likelihood of me playing the Longsword is next to nothing, or it's the Dark Return. And the Feeding Time. If I'd taken the Feeding Time, I could have been a lot more tempted now. But I think I just want to stay disciplined. I think I just want to make sure that I get my colors. It feels bad passing that up, but yeah, so be it. Let's take a look here. So the Snake's Saddle, how many Flyers do I have? I have 1 potential Flyer, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? 6 Flyers. Is that enough for me to want to cast Her Cloud Snake Saddle? 6 out of 45. Chances of drawing one. What's that? 5 sixes is 30, plus another pair of sixes, an extra 12. So 1 out of 7 of seeing one. The Ornamental Daggers could be just as tempting. They allow me just to beef up a little bit in the Echo. Serpent Trainer is great as well, but Horn for Lunk I wouldn't want in my deck if given the choice. It's evasion. Yeah, what I want to do is I want to out-temper my opponent. I want to be getting into the skies and making their life as uncomfortable as possible. And I don't think I'll be too unhappy in having an amazingly efficient creature, although the Amber Acolyte really does allow me to splash without too much concern. Yeah, splashing turns on my removal, which I think is one of my big priorities right now. Another Frostkin makes me very happy. And we can take another Acolyte. How many is too many? Have I really only picked one so far? Wow, I must have closely considered them a lot, but never actually picked them. Okay. Yeah, I think we're going all in on this plan with a second Karmic Guardian. It's been interesting to note how many of those static bolts have gone through to make me feel a little bit bad. Definitely too late to try and jump in now. Wow, and another Feeding Time. Okay. Am I likely to play a Flash Freeze in this deck? Yeah, I am. That's a nice bit of tempo. So, ordinarily I don't love splashing. Ordinarily. But geez, we've been gifted with some good stuff. Just getting rid of the stuff that I'm not interested in at all right now. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Ordinarily, when I splash, my rule of thumb is if I'm splashing a single card, I probably want I want 3 sources. A second card, I'm wanting 5. In this scenario, it's interesting, because I'm trying to splash in both directions. So how many? I got a pair of Seek Powers, and I have a pair of Amber Acolytes. That puts me at 4 to begin with. But I've got to remember that for each one of these that I use to get a different power, it actually reduces. It's not as though it's just 4 straight up pure cards in here. Then I got a Wisdom of the Elders to help me on some card draw. And I also have an Ancient Law. That's double, that's double. This is going to be a greedy old draft. I can say that much. Because I'm wanting to get the colours down early. I don't think I'm interested in Initiate of the Sands. This isn't a deck that goes big. And I think I'll probably want 1 or 2 more power than normal here because I'm going to be drawing them out anyway. And even though my curve stops at 4, I want to be making sure that I hit them. The Karmic Guardians aren't as good as I'd like here. I missed out on my opportunity to get the equipment to buff them up. But I think what we want to do is just to get on the table Dark Return's too greedy here. So I've currently got what? 8 plus 9 is 17 plus 1 is 18 power in this deck. I think that's about right. And then as far as colors, I have 2 sources of green, 4 sources of green, 6 sources of green. For 1, 2, 3, 4 cards. Both of them only need a single, and both of them want to be played late-ish. And then I have 1, 3, 5 sources of black for the feeding times. It's a weird deck, but I think it has the potential to be sweet. I have a lot of card draw, so I don't think I need the Herald's Song. I have a reasonable number of spells, so the Bear in the Tundra Explorer seems fine. Twinning Ritual's okay. Amber Acolyte. Like, the other thing is, if I can Twinning Ritual something like my Amber Acolyte, that'll help. So this deck could... Predator's Instinct is definitely not needed in this. We're not going big enough for it to ever really be warranted. I thought I grabbed the big dinosaur. Was I imagining things? No, that's not the right big dinosaur. It was the undercosted one. I might have taken the fixing then. So as far as 2 drops, I have 2, 3, 5, 6. The only bit that worries me is some of these creatures are just a little bit underpowered, and I don't have any great ways of powering them up. I think we can drop the Flash Freeze. We have better just pure removal. I think the Yeti Troublemakers could be overpowered by that stage in the game. 8 plus 9 is 17 plus 1 is 18. I think I'm quite interested in something like this. I'm aware that it's 1 card over, but we're also running 1 power more than I think we need when we're cutting off at 4, so I feel as though the ratio is still right. Very simple game plan. We drop 2 drops that ideally have some form of evasion or are slightly overcosted. We ramp to make sure we get the colors into our removal. And then we out-tempo them and remove the creatures that are a problem. It looks like fun. I'll definitely say that much. Yeah, sweet. Well, I've been Kozzi drafting for Pick 1 Pack 1. I'm kind of itching to get straight into this and see how it goes. So I look forward to seeing you guys for games 1 to 3 with this Elysian splash, yeah, Justice deck, I guess you'd call it. Definitely Fliers. I'll work out a name for an archetype in a moment. Alrighty folks, I've been Kozzi, drafting for Pick 1 Pack 1, and repeating myself as always, and I'll see you guys in just a moment.